Hello everyone, in this video I'll be showing you a Glamour Bladesinger build in Baldur's Gate 3's patch 8, multi-classing the Bladesinging Wizard with the College of Glamour Bard. They actually work together pretty decently because the Bladesinging Wizard just adds so much to the game, giving yourself the ability to get Booming Blade, learn any spell because we're getting full spell casting here, so level 6 spell slots, we can learn pretty much anything, Odaluk's Freezing Sphere, you name it. And on top of all that, we get the bonus action abilities from the College of Glamour Bard. So pretty much everything that you want from the Glamour Bard. I would recommend actually starting as the Wizard, as they do have a bit of an easier start. And for these cantrips we'll be going with, always take Booming Blade. It's extremely powerful. Mage Hand is also good because you can use it to throw health potions, and you can drop them yourself, grab it with the hand, and throw it. We also got Firebolt there to explode things, but also Bone Chill is a not bad choice as well. And for the spells we'll be going with, I would recommend having yourself the shield spell. Mage armor can also be nice early game. It's going to be better than most armors that you can find. Magic missile, Thunderwave, although you can get Thunderwave from the Bard, and we can always take this off later. And on top of that, I think Grease and Find Familiar work very well here. So we're going to go with that. Now for the ability score spread, it is a little bit complex because we do need intelligence and we do need charisma. I would actually recommend going with a stat spread of something like, you can go with this here, and this is going to go 16 dexterity, 14 constitution, and 16 intelligence. You can take the points out of there and put them into your wisdom if you're not going to take the Bard until later. So at level 7, you would respec and take this stat spread here with a boost to charisma. And alternatively, you could also take points of your constitution if you got the constitution amulet. So that frees up some of the stat spread here. And also early game, you can grab the gloves of dexterity and dump your dex and put the points into charisma there. So there's a few different options that you got if you want to have a higher charisma. And I would recommend taking maybe Constitution amulet later game or the dexterity gauntlets mid game, because there's also the gloves of the battle mage's power as well. At level 2, we get to choose our subclass. We're going to go with the Bladesinging Wizard here, obviously, because this gives us the Blade Song, increasing our armor class by 2, eventually 3. And we get to choose 2 more spells. Chromatic Orb, I guess really anything here that you would prefer having. Sleep is actually not a bad spell early game, and even the Fog Cloud too if you wanted to, or Long Strider for the increased 3 movement speed. And we also get to choose our weapon that we get for free. A short sword or a rapier works well. And then for prepared spells, something like that looks fine. At level 3, we get to choose some spells, and the Bard does have things like Hold Person, so that's something to keep in mind. We also want to take, if you want to maximize your damage, Shadow Blade is just the way to go. Scorching Ray, another really good level 2 spell for damage. Misty Step as well is really useful for that bonus action teleport, as it can get you out of some difficult situations. Mirror Image is also nice. It'll increase your armor class by 9. If you want to go more of the stealth route, invisibility can work too. But I would recommend taking our Scorching Ray and Misty Step just to boost up our overall damage output, something like that. At level 4, we get to choose another cantrip, Firebolt to explode things, or the Array of Frost cantrip. And we'll take something like Hold Person, Shadow Blade, Mirror Image. Those will be your top picks. Even Darkness if you wanted to theme your team around that. And for our next leveled spell, or I guess prepared spells, we could go with like Hold Person there. And the feat, I would recommend taking up our Intelligence for better spell casting. Alert for the +5 to initiative is another good choice, as the getting that early on basically means you always move first. Level 5, we get access to some very powerful spells like Counterspell, which can shut down enemy spellcasters. Since we get full spellcasting levels, we want to take Counterspell. And we can also use like Lightning Bolt or Fireball for the area of effect. Be mindful you can learn these from scrolls as well. Haste is another choice too if you wanted to go something like that. And we'll prepare our Counterspell, which is very powerful, and Lightning Bolt there. And then for our final level of the Wizard, we're going to get our level 6 extra attack. Huge power spike for us because we can cast a bunch of different spells, and we can also melee attack twice. So we'll go with something like this, and Fierce, another good spell too. Sleet Storm is very crucial for upsetting concentrations. Glyph of Warding is something you can get from the Bard, so I would recommend actually Fear or Glyph of Warding. We'll take Haste there. And we'll prepare our Fireball, something like that. I'd recommend actually having a Sorcerer prepare Haste on yourself instead, as they have Constitution saving throw proficiency, and they can twin it to 2 people. Now, we're going to add in the Bard here, which gives us the Vicious Mockery, hilarious cantrip. And we also get Minor Illusion, which is nice, or Friends if you wanted to use that. Be careful on higher difficulties. And for our spell selection, since we already got a lot of these, we got to be mindful what we select. Again, Long Strider is another one that we could prepare from only the Bard itself. And then we can take a Thunderwave, which we can remove from the Wizard. And then for something else, Bane, I guess, is an option if you wanted to really debuff, but nothing else here is super crucial. Featherfall, I guess, for the utility, or Dissonant Whispers. We're not going to be using those quite often. At level 2, we get our Jack of all trades, the extra short rest, and we get ourselves another spell slot selection. This guy itself's actually nice too. There's some things that give you benefits if you're a certain race, or even just for the dialogue in combat. Now we're going to go to the College of Glamour here, which gives us the Mantle Inspiration. You can imbue your teammates and grant them temporary health, and if they get hit with a melee attack, you charm the attacker. No save, they're just charmed, which is pretty good. And that's a bonus action ability, so it gives us a good use for our bonus action. Level 3 Bard, we get to choose another spell. We got Invisibility, or even the Knock spell, which knocks super useful, but you can also get that from a scroll. And you can prepare it as a wizard. Now for our next leveled spell, Friends is good, or even Light, because that can be useful. I'd actually recommend taking Mage Hand here and taking a different spell like Ray of Frost from the wizard, but we won't be using cantrips too often outside of Booming Blade. And for our next level spell, you can take Hold Person here and then only use it whenever you have Arcane Acuity stacked up, since our spellcasting stat's a little bit lower. And we could finally boost up our intelligence all the way to 20, or take Alert. Again, Alert going first is extremely effective in a variety of situations. At level 5, we get ourselves another spell here. Another thing about increasing intelligence, that allows us to prepare another spell as well. Glyph of Warding, Fear, as I mentioned, those are 2 spells we can get here. Glyph of Sleep is good if you're a half elf, because you can drop it right on top of yourself to save yourself if there's a bunch of enemies. Level 6, we get the Mantle of Majesty command, basically a bonus action command that you can continually keep casting without burning spell slots, giving us an actual good use for our bonus action. And we can take Plant Growth, which also doesn't use our spell casting stat for, and provides crowd control without a concentration. So what this will look like in terms of gear. And for gear selections, we got a couple good options. So there is some fun interactions, like if we're going with light armor, so we got light armor or clothing options. Light armor doesn't allow us to do some different changes here. So I guess with light armor, we got the Helmet of Arcane Acuity, which will give us, every time we do a melee attack, that's 2 turns of a +2, or I guess basically every stack that you get gives you increased spell save DC and spell attack rolls to a maximum of +10. And we get 2 turns of this per attack, so that's a +2 to each of those. We can also get that from the Gloves of the Battle Mage's Power, which is a item that they fixed in patch 8. So this, whenever you hit with an enemy with a spell or a cantrip that uses a weapon, Shadow Blade actually works for this too. This will also give you the Arcane Acuity. So there's 2 methods depending if we want clothing or light armor. And then we also get the Ballast armor here, which will make the target vulnerable to piercing damage within 3 meters. So our weapon attacks from like the Knife of the Undermounted King will do double damage. This is if we don't want to use the Shadow Blade, as Shadow Blade's really strong. If you want to maximize damage, use Shadow Blade. If you want to make this somewhat balanced, use the Knife of the Undermounted King. They both have the Shadow Blade ability there, as you can see, which gives you advantage on heavily obscured targets, so you can play in darkness a bit. And you also have increased critical hit chance with this weapon. And then I like to put the Belm in the offhand. It gives you a bonus action attack, so you got an option if you want to do an extra attack, or your command spell is for free, although that's not always the best choice. So another good option is the Dolar Amaris, which will add additional 7, which turns to 14 piercing damage on your critical hits. And then the Cloak Protection, the Evasive Shoes. I also like the Ring of Arcane Synergy, so whenever you deal damage with cantrip, which is Booming Blade, you gain Arcane Synergy for 2 turns, which gives you an intelligence modifier to your damage rolls, so that gives a +5 to your damage. Ring of Protection, nice. And Amulet of Greater Health, just because again we need a dump stat. You can also use the Gloves of Dexterity, as I mentioned earlier. Now if you want to use clothing, so for clothing, you can go with the Vest of Soul Rejuvenation or the Robe of the Weave. These will both give a +2 to armor class and count as clothing. This one will give you a bonus to your spell save DC and spell attack rolls, and give you health on a successful saving throw. Same thing here, a little bit less healing, but you can also make an unarmed strike against a target that misses. So it just gives you a reaction-based attack if you wanted something like that. Those are 2 good options there. With Mage Armor, that brings armor class up to 21 using the Gloves of Battle Mage's Power. However, we can use the Bracers of Defense as well to get our armor class up to 23, which will turn to 26 with our Blade Song, and then 28 with Haste. So that's another good option there if you wanted to go with something a little bit different and not just focused on using the light armor there. And then for a helmet, you can use the Diadem of Arcane Synergy, which will do the Arcane Synergy as well, and Moving Blade counts. And then we can also get the Ring of Elemental Infusion, which whenever you deal any type of elemental damage with a spell or cantrip, it'll infuse our weapon, which we do both of those, so it actually works well on this build. And then instead of what we're going to use for there, we can actually just take a staff that has a free cast, and we can cast in a free Shadow Blade. So Marka Heshker and the Staff of Spell Power here will both give you this free cast ability, and then you can go with that and then take your spell Shadow Blade, make sure it's upcasted all the way so that you get the extra damage from it. It'll replace the staff in your character's inventory, and then you get the Shadow Blade, which does 4d8 plus 8 psychic damage. You don't have to use it, but it's an option. And then Dolar Amaris or the Belm, so you get a free attack or an extra 17 or 14 psychic damage in your attack, because the Resonance Stone will double that as well. So you got two options for doubling your damage. And then on top of all of this, we're able to actually use a few different very powerful spells from scrolls. So Odluk's Freezing Spear, learn that, and then the Cone of Cold, Ice Storm, Dethrone, any powerful spell that you can add to your list, nice to have since we have the spell slots for it. And then you can also add back in your Misty Step or any of the other spells that you may want to have equipped, and then you have all your Bard spells as well. So you got lots of options here. Now I'll show you what this looks like in combat. All right, so first thing first, in combat, always put up your Blade Song. This will give you that nice bonus to armor class. If you know you're getting into a fight, you can also put up the mirror image to give yourself that +9 armor class. So with haste, we got 26 armor class. It's pretty decent. And with the Bracer Defense, that would have been a 28. And with haste, that puts up really high. Now, we love to see a bunch of enemies grouped together. If you got a Void Bulb, you can throw that into the middle. But we got some very powerful spells here, like Cone of Cold. I always recommend trying to find if there's a optimal way to use Cone of Cold, because sometimes you can hit more targets with a Cone of Cold than an Odluk's Freezing Sphere. Obviously, Odluk's Freezing Sphere has got a huge area of effect. So we can actually get really lucky here and hit all of them perfectly. So boom. Yeah, that's the power of spellcasting in Baldur's Gate 3. But the bonus ability is we got the different spellcasting that we can do, or the different bonus action abilities we can do. So we'll go with a Booming Blade, and since this is in light shadows, we get advantage on that attack roll. Yeah, you one-shot a lot of people really easily with the massive amounts of damage that you get from this. And I would also recommend taking a priority target, so any type of spellcaster that may have the command spell, you want to get rid of them right away because they're going to be a bunch of trouble. So then we can go in for another melee attack here. This is also in shadow, so it gives you that bonus, which is really nice. And then I accidentally used my offhand attack, but I would have used the Mantle of Majesty command. So we're stacking up our Arcane Acuity and Arcane Synergy there, so that's going to be a nice bonus to our overall attacks. The thing is, Shadow Blade's going to stack that up, so we're going to do a Booming Blade there to further stack that up even further. And we have a Thunder Infusion, and that'll allow us to deal a little bit additional damage. And we're going to run up on these targets over here, because we still have a melee attack, and then we'll do our attack with advantage because of the shadow there. Yeah, one-shotting them. I accidentally did the bonus action again. But anytime you can line up a Lightning Bolt like this is also a not bad option to go with, because it'll also infuse your weapon with lightning, but good damage too. And we got lucky, they literally ran right up to us, and this also counts as shade, so we get our bonus from the advantage to attack rolls. And then what we'll do is, sometimes you don't have all the range in the world to be able to hit someone, so you got bow attacks too that you can fall back on. And on top of that, we got our spell casting with the Mantle of Majesty command you can also use, so that's another option. Bonus action, you can use that to tell a target to flee, grovel, which will make it fall prone. Grovel's usually the best option, but you can also tell a target to come towards you, so we got command approach on that target there. And then as another bonus action, we can also obviously apply the temporary health, or we can do that outside of combat. So we'll do a Scorching Ray on this target here, and this will hopefully be able to take them out. Perfect. And we just have that one character that's just commanded there to run towards us, so then we can literally just run up and use our ever powerful Booming Blade to get a little extra damage. Boom, and the extra 4 fire damage came from our infusions that we got from the ring, so pretty useful. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Hit the subscribe button below if you haven't already, and I'll see you all in the next video.